Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad to see so many people here. I'm going to introduce Ruben, and he can introduce himself.
Okay. Do I need to stand here or anywhere I want? Great.
Stand the Ruben.
Yeah. I'm not going to walk away. Okay, thank you very much for the invitation. And yeah, my name is Ruben, and my wife Jolanda is sitting in as well. She's going to talk after the break, but I'm going to start. Today we're going to tell you something, a project that we do together with a lot of NB members, actually. So that I think that's really nice. We're not as sharp and fresh anymore because our plane got delayed. So we only flew in 2 hours ago. So we were supposed to come in yesterday, but we had a whole day in London Zoo now. So, yeah. So I'm gonna talk for roughly half an hour. Then we have a little break, and then my wife Jolanda is going to tell about the half of the project. As said, there's two teams actually in the Your Tern Project. There's Team Holland. That's me. Is the pointer working? Yeah, that's me. That's Jolanda. I'm working as a seabird biologist in the Netherlands, and I mainly work on sandwich terns actually. But the Damara Terns is a nice sidestep. Jolanda, well, she's probably going to introduce herself as well, but she works as a professor at the University in Amsterdam, but in a total different field. But she is a biologist as well, so she took a little different career path. And then another part of our team is Bas. He's not here, but he's a colleague of mine, so a bird ecologist, but he's a very good artist, and he draws really nice things. And if you ever want something fun to see, then go to his website, meetthefossils.com. He's got a sort of encyclopedia of prehistoric animals, and all drawn in a very characteristic way. So if you're interested, go and have a look. And then there's Team Namibia. Probably you know a lot of familiar faces. One is in the room, but let's start from the top. So Jean-Paul Roux is living in Lutwitz. He worked for the ministry before, and he knows everything about marine biology and especially about the Benguela. Then there's Mark sitting in front here. He's a very keen bird ringer from Swakop. Then there's Holger. I don't think Holger's in, but you probably know him. I think he doesn't work for the ministry anymore, Claire. No, he retired, but he worked for many years on the ministry and did countless bird counts everywhere in Namibia. And then there's Hartmut. He's involved in the tern ringing as well, and he's from Swakop and went on a lot of different tours. Then some more background of the project. So the Your Tern Project is something, it has a science component in it and a nature education component in it. And we try to use the science for better conservation. That's the broad or the main goal. And it started all with a grant from a Dutch waterbird society. And they got money left, and colleagues of mine are in the board. So they said, well, do you have a nice project? And I've been already in contact with Mark and with Jean-Paul for many years from the sandwich tern ringing. And they said, well, we want to do something with the Damara Terns. I said, well, I know a project. So that's where it all started to grow. And there's lots of people involved. So MEFT is involved, but also Nadid is involved. That probably all of you know. The Bird Club is involved. We can lend a car from the Namibian Chamber of Environment. So everybody is involved. And with all these different things, we have a really nice project. And that's what I'm going to tell you about. So what we try to do is that we try to fill specific knowledge gaps about the Damara Tern. So Damara Terns, there's quite a lot of studies being done, but there's also quite a lot of things unknown. And why did we choose the Damara Tern? Well, that's basically because there's lots of contact with Namibia due to the tern link between the Netherlands and Namibia. And there's almost all Damara Terns in the world breed in Namibia, of course. and there's lots of threats and a declining population over the past years. And there were specific knowledge gaps about the breeding and migratory behavior. And furthermore, and where my wife comes in, is that we would like to have the Damara Tern as a sort of flagship species, bring it to school kids, basically, to get them involved and improve nature awareness and stimulate them to take care of nature. That's basically what we want. And yeah, so we developed and tested a program for school kids. Damara Terns. First, the ecological part, that's my side. Most of our work is done in Lüderitz, but also in Zwartkop we catch a lot of terns, and also we try to count all the tern colonies along the entire coast to get a good overview of what is present in Namibia in terms of numbers and distribution. But most of our work is done in Lüderitz. And why is that? Oh, no, that's not why is that. It's about this bird, of course. So a very small tern. I don't know, but you probably all have seen it once. And it's a very small tern, only 50 grams. And it forages quite close to the shore. And it breeds along the Namibian coast. There's a few colonies in South Africa and a few in Angola, but them in Namibia. And why? Well, why do they breed in Namibia? That's not really the case. But why is the coast of Namibia so attractive? That's because of the upwelling zone that we had, or that you have for the of the coast here. And upwellings are not very common. There's 4 major upwellings. So in California, the one here in South America, and in West Africa, there you have another upwelling. And what does an upwelling mean? Well, the main driver of upwelling is wind that goes along the shore and that moves the water away from the area and pulls water pulls up from below, which is very nutrient rich. And then you get plankton bloom over here, which means that there's a lot of food for fish, but therefore also for seabirds. So, and this is what you see, this wind, this sort of constant wind, force 5, 6 along the coast, that drives this upwelling. And another important feature of Lüderitz is that this driving force is always there. So if you pull a line from Cape Free in the north to Cape Town in the south, then this line touches land once, and it's exactly where Lüderitz is. And that means that even with the seasonality of that upwelling, so it's in summer it's in Cape Town, and in the winter it's in the north, it's always in Lüderitz. So year round you have upwelling over there. So that's why it's a very attractive area for animals to be. So if you want to see something about upwelling, just Google Benguela upwelling explained, and there's a really nice YouTube video, like a 12 or 15 minutes, which explains it really good detail. So you can check that out. And what do you see when there's so much upwelling? Well, that's huge numbers of seabirds. So huge numbers of cormorants that fly out to sea every day, and huge numbers of seals, of course. There, I'm gonna drink something. Could have done this before. So huge numbers of seals and other marine mammals that are on the coast there, even from the biggest whales and the biggest seabirds to the small Damara terns. And yeah, Damara terns are really nice animals. They're very elegant, I think, and they breed, as said, along the coast there. And yeah, recently another colleague of mine surveyed the Baía de Tigres in southern Angola, which is on top here, and there's breeding Damara Terns as well. They're not on the map, but there's a few colonies down here, but the vast majority is off the coast here. And that Damara Tern is a really special bird for Namibia. It's like also seen in many aspects of Namibian society. And this is what the general idea is that they do. They breed in Namibia, and they migrate to this basically, so to Nigeria in winter. As said, the populations are going down quite a bit, and that's because of all kinds of disturbances. So coastal development, of course, is one of them, but also lots of coastal activities such as driving and also quad biking in areas. It's one of the things that is very healthy for a good Damara Tern population. But this is one of those areas where this is sort of typical breeding habitat. So it's not entirely sandy, but there's lots of structure on the ground, but it's very flat and open. And this is what it looks like. This is not a picture of mine, but I stole it from the internet. So maybe the one who took it is in the don't know, but. And this is a sign that you probably all have seen once you've been in Swakop or Walvisbaai area. These are areas that are fenced off for breeding Damara Terns, but you can see that the maintenance is also an important part of keeping people away. And then to the actual project, what are we going to do? Well, there's questions about migration. Do they migrate or not? And that's something that Jean found out in his area. That's a beach where he drives sort of virtually every day. And what he saw was that in the winter, when they're supposed to be gone, that he has quite high numbers on that beach, and especially during summer, then the numbers are a lot lower. So this is kind of funny because during winter they were supposed to be in Nigeria, and the numbers are quite big. So there was a big question of what are they? What kind of birds are they? Are they locals or are they coming from elsewhere? Or we don't know. So this is that beach. So this is Veldhuis Peninsula. Veldhuis is somewhere over here, and you drive around, and then there's this beach near Diaz Point. And it's a kind of funny beach because every sort of around 11, 12 o'clock, a group of roosting Damara Terns comes and roosts for a few hours on that beach. And then they fly off again, and nobody knows where they do, but they're probably going forage somewhere. And during the night, they're not there. So this is a day roost. They're only there for the day, and they spend 2-3 hours over there. And yeah, you can see there's different plumages that you can encounter on that beach, and they fly around and yeah, you first hear them often, and they fly around for a bit, and they are off again, and then they come back and go and sit on that beach. So what did we do? This is an invention of Mark. We wanted to put rings on the Damara Terns to follow individuals throughout their lives, and this is a big whoosh net. And what you see, the big elastics, and I've got a movie afterwards where you can see how it works. And as you can see, I think Mark, this is 12 meters or 6 or what is it? 7 meters. Yeah. But you can see how big the beach is. So somewhere there's Damara Terns sitting there. So that's another story. So this is how you do it. So these are the elastics, and there's a sort of poles swivel out, and the net is buried. And there's a remote control that you can actively or activate the net from a distance. But how to get to the net? Well, that's a different story. Because the beach is 1.5 kilometers long and meters wide. Want to have them in a stretch of 6 or 7 by 3 meters, basically. And that's when we came up with the idea of making plastic Damara Terns. So this is a little tern model, 3D printed in plastic and then painted to look at the Damara Tern, and then we have a little microphone that plays the sound of a Damara, and how you attract it. But the sound of Damara Terns not only attracts Damara Terns, it also attracts these kind of funny frogs, and they like elastics a lot. So then you have to set up the net and it's putting on the net, and here's the little microphone with the Damara Terns in front of it. So we had to chase this one off quite a lot, but yeah. And also often what happens is this is the net, and that's the group of Damara Terns. So they're sitting quite close, but not entirely in the area where you catch them. So this is Jean-Paul, and he's the master of herding. The group is over there, and how it works is the Damara Terns don't want to sit closer than 1.5 meters next to each other. So the ideal COVID guys. So once you push one on this side, that one comes closer to that one, and he walks further away, and that one walks further away. And so if you push that, the one at the top will walk. So he is walking this very slowly, and then you can herd the group into this area, into this area where you want them. So basically, this is the bit where you want them. And this is a movie clip. So once they're in, do you know how to do it? No. There it is. So this is basically what you do. So let's see if I can do it again. It takes a while. But what you see is this is all the poles are still above, but the poles are now on the ground so that you don't have these lines over the ground. And basically you fire it, it opens up here, this one pulls away, and the net shoots over it when you press the video. Yeah, now it's working. So once the animals are there, these are the plastic ones, but once the animals are there, then you shoot, and the net flies over the terns and onto the ground, so that they're in the net. So this is a plastic one. This is a plastic one, and this is a live one. And this is what they get. They get a flag with code on it that you can read with your camera or with your telescope after you let it go. And this is one of those images that you can see. And then if you put all those sightings together, you get that's something that you call a live history. And for example, the live history of 3P, the one that you just saw, which has been ringed in July and then has been seen in a couple of days in September up until October, and then it's gone. That's basically how a live history. The other question was, do they breed in the winter? Because another thing that we saw was not only that they are present in the winter, but this is the number of very young animals that you see in winter. And in July even, you saw up to 10 juveniles per day. And not only that, you see also courtship behavior. So animals bringing partners, you see mating, and also feeding of these very young juveniles. So this is juvenile of this pair, and the one parent brought in a live, I think it's what's it called, silver side, and he just threw the fish on the sand, and the fish were jumping up and down, and then the little one had to catch it, and I've got another movie clip. So, but it's very quick. This is the adult with the fish, and that's the young one is on the left. So there it is, the live fish on the ground, and and then the young one flies off with it, but he eats it afterwards. So what did we do? We searched for colonies. So and that's basically literally what it said. Searching for colonies is just driving into the desert and search for colonies. So with a little group of people. So Frans was there, and Claire was there, and Holger and Mark. We went into the desert, and that's literally driving along the coast in a very spectacular landscape, of course, and getting bogged down quite a lot as well. Some worse than others. But luckily there was a very strong winch on one of the cars, so we could get out of every hole. And we went to an area which is called Hottentots Bay, which is in the top here, and it has a very big salt plain over here. And that was one of the locations where we thought that there might be winter breeding over there. It is a very nice bay, tree in it. So very scenic, but it also has a house that we could borrow for a couple of nights. And it is a very nice place to go out into that salt pan and search for nests. And this is basically what it looks like. So it's a very tough crust, but very thick. And ideal habitat for Damara Terns because it has these kind of shell areas in between the really salt crust areas. And then it's basically walking. So I don't know who this is, but I think it's Frans. And we put people every round about a kilometer apart. And then basically just walking from one side of the salt pan to the other side and walk 500 meters that way all together and then walk back. And that's how we did the whole salt pan. And then you're just looking for, signs of breeding. So one of those signs can be an adult sitting on the ground. People see it, but yeah, you see it. It's down here, eh? And zoomed in. It's basically a bird sitting on a nest. And this is a colony of birds. They're like 250 meters apart. It's nothing like a colony that you know from normal tern colonies. They're very far apart, but still called a colony. Or you see an egg on the ground most of the time because you see an egg flying around. And that's what we hope for, because if you have an egg on the ground, you can try to coloring the bird on the nest as well. So this is another trap that you put over the nest. So the egg is over here, and then the net is put that way with a remote as well. So as soon as the bird goes and sit over there, the net flaps that way. But those birds are very shy, so everything that's next to the nest is very, very wary about that. So that they don't want to sit. So this one, for example, took like 5 or 6 attempts before it landed on its nest. And they often go and sit like 2 meters away and just wait until that net goes. Or you see chicks. So there's this very small chick. We saw an adult flying with a fish, so they know there's something going on the ground. And suddenly this chick was running away. So and this one got a coloring. This was a catch of the adult. And one of the nice things was we caught one of the adults. I don't think it was this, but it was another one. And this got a coloring. The coloring is not very easy to read, but it's H4. And 4 weeks later, after its capture, so the capture is here at the top. And so almost 2 months later, it's seen on the beach in Lutherits with. So that was one of those examples that there's interconnection between Lutherits and Hottentots Bay, and also that the breeding birds from there go to Shearwater Bay near Lutherits to bring up their young, basically. So, knowledge gaps. My question to know. Well, there are indications that those southern Damara terns don't migrate at all. They probably stay in that area. Things from elsewhere outside that area. So please, if you go to the coast, bring your scope or your camera and look at every leg of a Damara Tern. And do they breed in winter? Yes, they breed in winter. Well, to July and August, we've seen birds flying around, which is quite spectacular because I don't think it was. It's one of those animals that 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 don't have a very long breeding season. So some of the tropical terns, they have sort of two peaks, but generally terns are very synchronized. They breed once a year and all together. But this one has a very extensive breeding season, which is quite interesting for this group of animals. And I think that was my part. So, and the second part is quite different. So if we can also do questions now, if people have them, or save them up to later. Questions now? Yeah. And if not, not a problem at all. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Yeah, so for the people at home, the question is, how do you choose the place to put your net? And I think you went on the, yeah. So there's specific on the beach they really like. So it's the area between wet sand and this very high dry sand, which is very wobbly. Yeah, there's this sort of little bit of flatter sand, which is wettish, but not wet anymore, basically. And that's an area where they really like to sit, but still that's quite a lot of a long stretch. Yeah, we just chose an area in the beach, and then you try to lure them in. It's not there's no big science behind it. No, but they like to be in that very wobbly beach. Only when it's very windy, then they go and sit in tracks, for example. But they don't like these overview, and I really like the very wet sand either. So there's in that in-betweeny bit. Yeah. No? Yeah. Yeah, we put a tag on, and then we hope to see that we see. Sorry? No, the smallest satellite tags is just slightly too big. Yeah. Yeah. So these are so generally you don't put anything over 3% of the body weight on an animal. That's a sort of general rule in seabird science. And 50 grams, then 3% is 1.5 gram, and the smallest satellite tag is about 2.5 grams, and also they're very expensive. So like a GPS logger, so a little thing that takes a GPS position and stores it and then sends it away. That's not so expensive. Well, they're still expensive, but not as expensive as something that communicates with the satellite. They're about $4,000 each, and that's too much for our project. So yeah, we hope to get sponsored one or two by the company who makes them, but yeah, they didn't bite yet. Yeah. I think the farthest resighting is one of your birds, isn't it? The one in Mozambique? Or is that no? That's the one from South Africa that went up to Mozambique. Yeah. And and you have one from Nigeria? No. Yeah, yeah. So basically Nigeria, that's about, but that's not, yeah, that's something from the past. But yeah, we have very limited resightings. Those animals from Lüderitz are hardly ever resighted, and the ones from Swakop and Walvis Bay, they get resighted a little bit more, but I think most go north. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, they go to the, yeah, I always call it the African bite. I don't think it's a proper name, but it's basically that area, Nigeria, Equatorial Guinea, Benin, those countries. Yeah, there's this East Atlantic Flyway Initiative, which is coordinated from the Netherlands, and Holger is part of it, for example. And there's a lot of interconnection between the countries, but mostly on a survey basis. So how many did you have? Oh, we have got 1,500, but not on a like a ringing connection. That's basically more up to individual ringers. So Mark has got contacts with probably a couple of people in those countries. I, for example, a guy in Ivory Coast who sees a lot of sandwich terns, but he's one in the country. so yeah, it's a bit yeah, dependent on individual people. No related action. Yeah. No, not from my head, but there's quite good. I'm looking at Claire and Mark now, but there's a sort of understanding of how many birds are there, and specific sites are really well monitored. I mean, the Swakopmund saltworks. Mark knows exactly how many animals are there every year. But do you know a total from the top of your head? 8,000 breeding birds. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I think the one in the saltworks is 50 pairs or something like that. No, there's no average size. Yeah, yeah. But it's nothing like common terns or sandwich terns that breed in the thousands in a like this. Yeah. Yeah. No? Okay. Coffee, drink. Yeah.
Okay, I guess we can proceed with the second part. Does this mic work or is it okay? Yeah, okay. For me, it's also fine. As Ruben already told you, I will tell you a bit more about the educational part of our project. And it might be a bit different indeed than focusing only on birds. I do have a background in biology, even in biology teaching, but I also have a background in communication science. So that means communicating about several issues. I think it's working, maybe not too loud. That's better, yeah, okay. I work as a teacher at the university and as a researcher, so I am used to lecturing to students. But please interrupt if there's any questions you want to ask immediately, please do so. Because I come from the field of social marketing, and that sounds a bit different than birds or bird research. What we mean with social marketing is that we use marketing techniques to sell behavior for social issues. So instead of selling a watch, you might want to sell quit smoking or whatsoever, or in this case, pro-environmental behavior. So I will show it a bit to you. In marketing, there's 4 P's. The P of product, the P of price, place, and promotion. So for instance, if you want to sell a watch and you're a marketeer, you think the product that I want to sell is the watch. It has a specific price for my customer. I sell it at a shop or maybe online. That's the place where it is to be found. And I might want to do some advertising as a promotion of the watch. But then comes the interesting case, I find, for social issues. Because how do you sell protecting nature? We just don't go walk around and yell at everybody like, you have to protect nature. That won't work. You have to look at specific target groups that you want to reach for this message, and then also how to sell that message. And that is what we actually call branding behavior. So in this case, the product is not something as clearly visible as a watch, but what we want to sell is healthy nature, for example. or biodiversity, protecting biodiversity. The price for that might be that you have to do something that you're not really into. For example, throw away your waste or do some recycling. You think, bummer, that's difficult. Then that's the price you have to pay, is to overcome that barrier and do this waste segregation, for example. Then the place is the action outlets where we try to sell this behavior. For example, in the form of a poster or a comic, or in our case, a board game. And that's where also comes the promotion. We really need to think of persuasive communication strategies, effective messages to get across. And no worries, I will get back to the birds shortly, because within the Your Tern project, we focus on various of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, for example, climate action, life below water, life on land, etc. And that also aligns, for example, with the approach that Nadid chooses. Are you also familiar with Nadid? Some of you are, some of you are not. Most of you are. It's the Namibian Desert Environmental and Education Trust. And that's a close collaborator of us for this part of the project. And here you can see me and Maura visiting the Nadid Urban Sustainability Center. And part of our intervention, of our studies, took place at the center. And as I already said, we work in close collaboration with Nadid. This is their center, or was their center in Swakopmund. They recently renewed, they relocated, and we're pretty excited to see their new place. But as you can see, they really want to show the kids that are visiting the center, the people and the environment, and how they are intertwined and linked together. They also, in a very fun and entertaining way, want to show the kids what they can do for a more sustainable living. They have the Eco House where the kids do assignments. So they have like groups of schools coming into their center for a 3-day learning program. And there they learn more about pro-environmental behavior. So here you can see some of the kids partaking in one of their interventions. They have a full-day program, also including lunch. And also they take the classrooms outside. So visiting the beach, for example, going to the aquarium, etc. People and the environment, and that really relates to what we want to do with the Your Tern project, is actually show the Damara Tern and how we can respect the Damara Tern and protect their habitat. I also need some water like Ruben. I think that has to do with being 2 days in a plane and just arriving. So what did we do? Together with Nadid, we really wanted to set up some interventions to promote pro-environmental behavior and have like the Damara Tern as the flagship species there. So what we did is we create a comic, a story. You see here one of the paints in our comic. And what we know from, for comics is that you need a proper story, that you need at least one character in that story who goes through at least one event in a specific setting. I will skip the other parts to really show you what we did then practically. And that is that we, as the character, choose to either have a Damara Tern or a schoolgirl. So we also wanted to investigate what would work better. So the storyline, the content focuses on having a Damara Tern in it or a schoolgirl. The story took place in the coastal dunes, in the habitat of the Damara Tern, and we wanted to promote biodiversity and also focus on some of the pro-environmental behaviors. So we really wanted to teach the kids to respect the protected areas, to properly store their waste, throw away the garbage, to lower disturbance, so lower your voice, lower the music, etc. And also to instigate social interaction about conservation. And what is important that we not only tell them, like, you have to do this, it's also the way that how we tell it. And that is actually what we wanted to investigate with our comic. As Ruben already said, we have a colleague and friend who is very artistic. He drew the comics for us, and he also created the board game that I will show you within a few minutes. So as the main characters, as I already said, we wanted to check with the kids actually what would work better. If we have a first person human in the comic, or if we had the Damara Tern as the first person telling the story about having their habitat disturbed, etc. So the main character was Dana, and we had different forms of this comic, either portraying Dana, the girl, or portraying Dana, the Damara Tern. There were other characters also in the comic. It's George the Kego, it's Onduno the Oryx, Tuyakulu Trektekjet, and the Nelly Namakwa Chameleon. So for the names, we also asked the Nadi team, like what would be proper names for these characters. And for example, Dana means a leading character. And that actually was something that we really could use for this comic. So what I just described is that in a comic, in a story, you can vary between the human perspective or the animal perspective. And what we know from other studies is that human is something that we like to read about as a first-person perspective because we can relate with a human. On the other hand, kids also like animals. So it could well be that they more like the animal perspective. And then also we choose to frame the text in the comic. So we made different versions because you can either say, yes, you have to stay out of the protected areas because then they stay intact. That's a more positive framing, a gain framing. Or you can say, hey, if you do enter the protected areas, the nests of the Damara Terns can be destroyed. So that's more the negative framing. And from other research, we know that it also matters if you take this positive approach or negative approach. But in this case, we could not predict what would work better for school children in Namibia. So here you can see the comic. It consisted of different paints. It here, for example, says, hi, I'm Dana. Look at the beautiful surroundings we live in. Many of my animal friends call this home too, and many visitors come here to enjoy the biodiversity. Let me tell you more about it while we visit my friends. So here comes the storyline, because then the friends tell that the environment is indeed disturbed. So here is where the transition needs to take place. And then the comic proceeds, and Dana visits all of the friends, and the friends tell them, oh yeah, if the people stay out of the protected areas, the ground nest of the Damara Terns will stay intact. And the other pane here on the right, here Dana is visiting Tuyakula Trektekjet, and Tuyakula says, hey, what is that nice tune? And then the Tern says, oh, it's the cuckoo shop owner, and he plays the music softly. Reducing the volume keeps animals around. So this is all gain framed. It's choosing a positive perspective. If you do this, this will be the benefit. And so on till the end of the story. That was a bit quick. Because as I already said, we wanted to check, I will not talk you through this whole model. The most important thing is that we actually had this, so we had 4 versions of this comic. We had the girl perspective, the animal perspective, either in a gain frame or a loss frame. And then the question was, what would work better? Will children gain more knowledge from which type of comic? Will they have a better attitude towards these pro-environmental behaviors? Do they think they are in control of these behaviors? And do they plan to adhere to these pro-environmental behaviors? So here you can see the variations. For example, this is one of the paints in the comic. And in the upper left here, you can see the Damara Tern, so the animal perspective. And as I already said, this is the gain frame, the positive frame. You can also use a similar approach. It's nearly similar in visuals. But here, Tuyakula says, hey, ouch, what is the terrible noise? Ah, Tuyakula, this cuckoo shop owner has no eye for nature. He plays the music loudly. Creating too much noise scares animals away. So the message actually is the same. We want to show that loud music will scare animals, and that if you reduce the volume, it might be better to keep the animals around. The same paints we have, but instead of the bird perspective, here we have the girl perspective. So what we actually did at Nadid, or Nadid did this for us actually, because this was in the time of Corona. So we were stuck in the Netherlands, and the people from Nadid, they took the comics to the different schools that they were visiting. They were still allowed to visit. And they took some paper pencil questionnaires. So some of the kids saw the bird comics, some of them saw the girl comics, etc. And then what came out of it, again, way too much letters. But what came out of it, to round it off, is that indeed the gain frame instigated higher intentions to pro-environmental behavior than loss. So they said the loss frame was way too pedantic, like the finger, no, you should not do this, you should not do that. For them, the positive approach, hey, if I stay out of the protected areas, it helps. If I reduce the volume, it helps. If I store my waste properly, it helps. That was the better option. And remarkably, and it was very interesting for us, the animal and human perspective had equal reactions to them. So they both liked Dana the bird and Dana the girl. So for the next step we wanted to take together with Nadid, we wanted to create a board game. And then we said, if we want to keep the bird and the human girl in the board game, one of the names should change. So they suggested Matisa, and the girl still was named Dana. And I was told that the names had a similar kind of meaning, and that was important for us. What we also took from the research is the kids that very much liked the comic, like the format, learning in the form of a comic, and were higher engaged with the story and also felt more empathy for the character. They had more positive pro-environmental behavior outcomes. So it is really important to create that in a comic. How am I doing time-wise? I'm okay. The board game. So as I already said, after the comic, we wanted to proceed with another intervention. Also, again, we discussed things with Nadid. We ourselves came up with the idea of a board game, because what we know from games is that people in general, kids in particular, very much like playing games. And there are specific things in games that they very much like. And that, for example, is goal setting. You have a specific goal that you work towards to. You have the capacity to overcome challenges. It can be quite challenging. Hey, I take steps in a row. You can get some feedback on your performance. There's reinforcement from others. You can compare progress, for example, if you work in teams, and so on. So we all captured that together and decided to create a board game. And I will leave this board game here for those of you who want to see it, but I also will hold it up. I'm sorry for the people at home. It's not that clear, I guess. I would say this is a mixture of snakes and ladders, and party and go. I'm not sure if in Namibia that's also a huge game. But what we have here is you can take different steps on the board. There's two teams playing against each other. One team throws the dice, walks across the board, and each time you land on a specific tile, you have to draw a card. And what I also forget to tell you is that the teams themselves, they can pick a player that they want to be. So there's different tokens, and they again can choose from, we're team Dana, the girl, or we're team Tuyakula, Track Chat, and so on. We also have Matisa, of course. And what we did with Nadid is having kids from the class playing in two teams with each other, against each other, I must say. And as I said, if they land on a specific box here, they have to draw a card. The cards are either green, yellow, blue, or orange. And they have different categories, different assignment categories. So, for example, you can draw a green card. That means that you have to draw something. It's the Pictionary category. And for Pictionary here, one of the cards that I have here is draw a breeding bird. So then one person of the teams goes, draws this breeding bird, and then the other teammates have to guess within a specific time. We also work with an hourglass, 30 seconds. And if they gave the correct answer, they can again proceed 2 steps on the board game. And there's also a little explanation that they have to read out. And here's where the education part also is. So for example, here it says, the Damara Tern is a bird that breeds on the ground in gravel plains in between the dunes. If we respect their nest sites, they can raise 1 chick per year. So again, it is game framed, because that's also what we took from the previous step. And we use that on the cards. As I said, they could also get a card that is yellow, which means charades. And this one says putting rubbish in a bin. So then they have to act out like putting rubbish in a bin, and their teammates have to guess what is going on. And again, there's this explanation. The blue category is word guessing. So they have to describe a word, in this case, nature conservation. And then the others have to guess. So they're not allowed to say the words. The other teammates have to guess that it is nature conservation. And the last category is trivia. So that's a multiple choice question. Where do Damara Terns breed? And then there's 3 different answering options. And with the correct answer again, they can proceed 2 extra steps. And the team that ends in the middle of the board first, that's the team that wins. So this is the final board game, but I want to invite you to take a closer look. In order to test how the kids felt about the board game, we had some kids playing the board game. Other kids saw again the comic, but in this case we choose the Damara Tern animal perspective comic in a game frame. And there was another group that saw just a plain story. So this is the exact text from the comic, but then brought without any visuals. And we wanted to see, which they liked most. Is it indeed the game, or is the comic enough? Because we already expected that a plain text like this would be least effective. And so actually that is what we did. And I have some pictures that I can show you of the kids in the Nadid Center playing the board game. As I already said, Nadid has a 3-day program. And our intervention became one integrated part of their 3-day program. And I must say they were really enthusiastic. And I have a little game here, but you cannot hear the sound. But you can see from how they act that they're really getting hyper. And then here the girl says, man, you don't know it. It's biodiversity. And that's exactly what made us really, really happy, that such a difficult word, such a difficult term became known to them and what it was. And the boy apparently did describe it properly, but his teammate could not guess it right. Some more pictures of when we were there. This was 2 years ago when we were in Swakopmund. And, we found some pros and cons. Overall, I would say that the board game worked better than the comic and the story. Kids found it more enjoyable. They said, they reported that they really felt socially interconnected with each other. So yes, it worked really well. We could also see that there are some challenging points in here, because we really had to have one person, like one game leader per board game. So this is 2 kids in a team playing against 2 other kids. And that means if you have a classroom and you want to integrate this in your classroom, that it can be really challenging. Other points that I would say that we took from our research there is that although we did discuss all of the language on the cards with the Nadid team, So these are working with these kids like every day. There's still cards that are too hard for them to read. Also because it's all in English. So we had many teachers asking us like, please, can we have the comic or the board game in our language, which is not English, which is not German, which is a totally different type of language. So these are all take-home messages that we took. And yeah, we of course would like to hear different opinions about it. So if people have opinions about this, I would be most happy to hear it. This is another clip. He is doing the charades of a bird hatching from an egg.
Constantly saying chicken.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot. Yeah. Chicken. No, I'm not a chicken. I'm a chick. So, but they really, really liked playing the game. This is one of the teachers. He was really interested in having the comic in his classroom, but he really requested it to be in other languages than just English. Yeah, I don't know why there's so many pictures of this. I will just skip it. Here they're filling in the questionnaires because, yeah, our interventions come with some research to really show the effectiveness and see what is going on. And I will skip that slide and go to this one, and then I will round off this story. So as I already said, the kids that played the board game said they feel more in social interaction and felt more social connection than those who read the comic or the story. They also had a more positive evaluation of the format. They said it's most fun to do it this way and that they learned a lot from it in this way. And also we could see that they also actually learned a lot from it. So checking their knowledge on pro-environmental behavior, that indeed was better when they played the board game versus reading the comic or the story. I will also skip these. What also was interesting, the last finding that I will show you for today, is that those who really felt came in the flow of the board game, so really felt connected with the board game, and really had the time that they could easily concentrate, felt challenged and were focused, that they showed the best benefits, of course. But then the question indeed is, how can we, sorry about that, how can we create this flow in classrooms? Because implementing this with Nadid for us is really good because they have these kids already there. So they have the right structure, the right setting, and they have people that are used to working with all these pro-environmental behavior language and jargon. But then the big question is, if we want to roll it out to the classrooms, yeah, then how do we do that? So that actually is what we aim with our project, is that we want to get the beach and dunes to the classrooms, but also get the classrooms outside, maybe to see the protected areas or to see the birds, the Damara Terns. So there's a lot of ideas that we have for future research. We already did an extra summer school on birds for Nadid. We created that. But I'm also would be interested more to integrate more of the cultural and spiritual context in the interventions, because I think that's really important. And of course, what's really important for us are these type of collaborations, because if you create interventions, you cannot just drop it here and hope that it works well. We really need specific structures and really close collaborators. So I think I will leave it for now. There's a lot that I can tell you, but I think time-wise, I will stop it here. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to take them. Is there any questions? Yeah. Yeah.
Was there an age group or a grade range that Nadid was working with?
Yeah, that's a very good question about the age range or the specific groups that were our target group, and also the groups that Nadid works with. Yes, and I also had it on slide, but I also realized it was a bit too much text on the slides. We had an age range of 10 to 18 years old. And the majority of the kids were from grade 6 till grade 8. Yeah. Other questions? Yeah, I would definitely expect that. The number of pupils that we have for like the statistical part, it was too low per demographic to tell a bit more about this. But I'm sure that there's more that we can do with demographics, because also this also in the Netherlands, but I believe it's also here, that there's so many different types of schools. There's kids in schools that come to the dunes very often, and then there's schools, we also saw these classrooms from kids living near the dunes or near the coastline and never getting there. So definitely that will matter. And I also believe that the language thing is very, very important. Yeah.
Problem with the Nadice, classes. Oh, yeah. They don't invite classes to do the program, but they invite groups of students that show well, the interest, and also that they have some sort of, not competitions, but there's some sort of selection before you can do the program. And that's why you don't have a class with all 12 and 13-year-olds, but you have a group with 10 to 16-year-olds. And that made it a bit difficult as well, because there's one picture where there's a tiny girl sitting next to a bloke, which is which is quite big. So that made it a bit difficult for this kind of study. But
other questions for now? And I want to thank you for hearing us. We're a bit tired, but we're happy to be here. Thank you.